Well, friends, Marvel Legends reviews are over, and now we get to see DC characters like Batman. Well, kinda. That's right, friends. Today we get to take a look at Batman in the HELLBAT suit. And if you're wondering what the HELLBAT suit is, well, it is basically a big excuse for Todd McFarlane to give us Batman in a mech suit, and it is awesome. Now, the wings he's wearing right now come packaged separately, and you can pop them on and off as you like, and I kind of like him without them, but we'll also look at the wings more when we get to accessories, so let's just talk about his armor right now, and I think this is a pretty cool looking Batman, even if it's not Batman's typical look, you know, but the black and the red looks pretty cool, honestly. Just like reminds me of the 60s Batmobile, actually, which he actually looks pretty cool next to. Robin's probably wondering, like, what the heck is that thing, you know? But I mean, that's what the Batmobile looked like, and that's what this guy looks like. Let's look at the sculpt on him. The Bat emblem there is raised. All these little lines, the red lines you see, are pretty much sculpted in. Like, I don't think there are any that are just painted on. The visor is sculpted right there. The bat is a separate piece that's been glued on. These lines are sculpted. And these are like separate, slightly rubbery pieces. They are kind of hard and spiky though. Like, you put your finger on that kind of hurts. It's not like gonna break skin or anything. On the back, we got these little vents that are sculpted. The holes are for the wings, obviously, but there's also like these little vents down here. So I guess he has like sort of rocket packs coming out the back and the bottom of the boots there that make him like a, you know, fly like Batman Beyond kind of. And I gotta say, like, for a Batman of the future in a mech suit, this does look much more like that than the Batman Beyond suit. The Batman Beyond suit's like kind of sleek, whereas this is like kind of what I think a dark future Batman would look like. Now, little prongs on the side of the gauntlet. I don't know what those are called. The spikes on Batman's gauntlet, they are rubbery, and this one's like a little warped coming out of the package on my guy, but these ones are great over here. And look at the paint on that. Wow, the silver dry brushing makes that look like metal. I mean, should we start talking about the paint? I don't know what more to say about the sculpt. I like the angularness in the mech suit kind of design the HELLBAT suit has. Just like these little bits of armor on the knee pads and the gauntlets there. Oh, and then the claws. Well, the hands, look, the hands have claws like the Batman Beyond suit. Remember, it could like get retractable claws in and out, but like, that's what McFarlane does. He's just like, oh, let me just do like the coolest design possible for a big old scary looking mech suit. It is really cool looking. I like the spikes. I like the little sculpted lines. I like the metal bits, the gauntlets. They're not real metal, but you know, they are supposed to be metal on the suit. I like everything about this design, except maybe the wings. The wings are kind of plain, but like I said, we'll get to those later. Let's look at the paint. So pretty much this guy has some glossy black parts and some matte black parts that have a silver dry brush to make it look like metal. So the silver is kind of light on the shoulder pads, but like, look at that there. That looks great. That does look like it's kind of like metal, like it's supposed to be, right? And then like this black is glossy, and it gets a little sloppy on the red and the abs, I think. Like down there's like a couple of black spots in the red line in the middle, but I don't know what's up with that. But I mean, it looks fine for the most part. And the silver dry brushing on the gauntlets looks amazing. Really, my big issue with the sculpt back there was the warping on these spiky things, but that's a very minor thing. This is a rubbery piece, and paint on the little vents, pretty good. That's pretty much all he's got. Silver dry brush on these parts, and the fronts of the knees here, and then the rest is glossy black, and there's red details. Not bad on the paint, McFarlane, not bad at all. But let's check out articulation now. So, I guess his head's on a ball joint, but that is the range of it. I mean, you can look down to brood, which is good, because Batman needs to be all broody, but he can't really look up, and I think this is a character that's supposed to fly, so, you know, just having him fly like that is kind of, you know, not ideal, I guess, but head does spin all the way around. It's got kind of a rubber neck piece here that, you know, stretches as you do it, but I mean, it doesn't get in the way, so I'm fine with that. Shoulder pieces here are on ball joints, and you can actually pop them off if you want. See, it's just like a little ball that sticks in that peg. I don't think he looks great without the shoulders, but I mean, we could take it off for the purposes of showing off the articulation, because the actual shoulder has this weird sort of double ball thing going on. Like, I don't necessarily want to call this butterfly joints, this separate loose moving piece, which I don't like how loose it is, but I mean, it does have the functionality of butterfly joints. They can come forwards and back, but they also get like some up down kind of thing without actually moving the hinge in the ball joint to the shoulder. If you move that hinge though, He's not really getting past 90. He gets about 290, which is decent, I guess. If you combine it with the weird loose butterfly joint thing in there, the little extra circular piece. But the arm does spin all the way around, of course. If you have the shoulder pad on, it kind of gets out of the way, but, you know, it'll pop off if you go too high. But that's better than it breaking, right? Then there are cuts at the biceps, of course, and only single hinged elbows. But those single hinges get past 90, so I'm okay with them. Not bad there. There's nothing in the gauntlets, and the wrists are on ball hinges, which means you can get both types of motion. You just have to move that ball first to get them. The torso has a double diaphragm joint, gets pretty decent side to side, forwards and back. Could go a bit more forwards, but back is pretty darn good, and both of them swivel all the way around. Nice. Hips are on that weird McFarlane C-clamp joint. They can do the splits completely 180. Look at that. That's more flexible than I think Batman is without a giant mech suit on, you know? They can also go so far forward, but they kind of come out to the side a little when they do that. And since this diaper piece is rubber, it can go back pretty good, actually. Also sort of get swivels in there. I mean, this is the extent to which they can swivel, though. The knees are double joints, unlike the elbows up there. And the feet are on the same sort of ball hinge thing that the wrists had, which, I mean, I think I'd kind of prefer just like a Hasbro Marvel Legends style ball and pivot kind of joint, because like this, you can move it forwards and back, and then if you want that side-to-side motion, you gotta get that ball rotated first, and then you can do it. So I'd prefer a more simple joint in the ankle, and I prefer like double elbows, but I mean, I think we're good with the single as long as we get that range that we got there. I think the head should be able to look up, but other than those things, other than the ankles and the head pretty much, the articulation's very good, I'd say. And I almost didn't notice, but articulated toes too. Well, he doesn't really need those. Packaging is pretty standard McFarlane fare for DC figures. Says 22 moving parts up there. Has the new DC logo, some multiverse, which is still confusing because Mattel called all their lines DC Multiverse. And down here it just says Batman. But on the side it says Batman in the HELLBAT suit. I don't know why I just call him like HELLBAT or whatever. But there's this cool artwork on the back, which, I mean, it looks a little bit different than the figure. Like the figure has like big old shoulder pads. And this seems to have like small shoulder pads integrated into the actual armor rather than like, you know, shoulder pads on top of the armor. And I don't know, whatever. The lines also look a lot more subtle in the arms and the chest and stuff. It's just a McFarlane's excuse to interpret this figure, I guess. Anyways, we get a little look at other figures in line, I guess. There's comic book Batman, even though comic book Batman look nothing like that. And there's animated Green Lantern, even though he looks a little different. And Harley Quinn. Animated series Batman, even though the animated series Batman figure doesn't really look like this artwork. And there's the Green Arrow from Green Arrow figure. I mean, it would be nice if they got like pictures of the actual figures in the back, because other companies do that, and now I kind of see why, because you want to show off what the figure actually looks like, right? Anyways, I've rambled on long enough. Let's pop this bad boy open by cutting some tape on the sides and getting him free. Once again, we got some cool comic art back there in the card, and the only way to free this little collector card and base is to rip it off. I think they're using a little bit too much glue. There we go. Now for the base, I got them both out. What you do is you put this in the trash, and you use this if you have to, but if you have a nicer figure stand, you put this in the trash as well. Actual Batman figure has one double twist tie around the waist. Just snap that, and then I shudder to think how heavy he's going to be popping out, but he just pops on out. Not quite as heavily as I expected. So packaging, I guess it's fine. I don't really have much more to say about it that I haven't said in previous reviews. It looks okay. It could be a little more collector friendly. It's fine. For accessories, Batman has the collector card, which, you know, I don't really keep, and there's kind of like glue on it or tape or something, which, I mean, if someone were actually interested in these things, McFarlane probably don't put tape on them. This must be a better way to package them, right? Anyways, we get a little bit of backstory on this HELLBAT suit. It came from Batman and Robin number 35 in 2014. After losing his son Damian, Robin, Batman eventually found temporary peace until Damien's body was stolen and taken to the fiery planet of Apocalypse. Determined to bring Damien back to life, Batman dons the experimental HELLBAT suit, forged by the other members of the Justice League, and ventures to the hellscape of Apocalypse to take on the virtually indestructible ruler Darkseid. Okay. I've seen Batman like go to Apocalypse without having to wear a special mech suit, so I don't know if I buy all that, but I mean, it's kind of like his fireproof suit from the animated series, I guess, and that like that description made it sound like it's to protect him from fire, but you know, people go to Apocalypse all the time. It's not just because there's fire on it doesn't mean you're like in the fire all the time, right? I don't know, whatever. Other accessory it comes with is this little stand. It has one peg. I guess you're gonna put it on this foot, and is way too small for him. So, I mean, it's not like he has trouble standing up on his own, so I don't know why you'd really want this, but it does have the DC logo on that side, and nothing really on the other side. It's fine. I'm going to save it for like some 3 3/4 inch figures, maybe, if I ever get those, I guess. But I'm not really using it for this guy. Serious accessory, though, are the wings. They come folded up, and they have 2 little tabs, which we're going to plug into his back here, right there. If I can get him to stand up while I do it. I guess we plug one in right there. Ooh, these are tight. I kind of like how he looks without the wings, but these are pretty cool for people who want it. Let's get him standing up straight. Yeah, that's a good accessory, McFarlane. That's pretty awesome, I'd say. I think you could even like fold him up while he's wearing them if you want, but that doesn't... I mean, that kind of looks more like he's got like a glider kind of thing going on, but I think wings on this suit are kind of unrealistic in the first place because it looks like such heavy armor that I don't think Batman will be able to fly around, you know, with the armor on. Although people buy Iron Man flying around and he doesn't even have wings, so I guess anything goes in comic books, right? But seriously, the wings are kind of plain looking compared to the rest of the suit. I feel like they could have used some red trim or something because they are really just boring matte black. I mean, even the sculpt is just very flat. Like, if you think about it, it's just a thin piece of plastic, really. I mean, maybe that's how it looked in the comic book, but I would say. But then I'm looking at the comic book art, and no, he has like a traditional cloth cape with like maybe little spiky bits in the back on top. So this is not really like the piece of artwork you included, at least, McFarlane. So I don't know what it is. I think it would have just been cool if you embellished it a bit. Threw some red details on there, some sculpted details, something, anything. It's all right. If you think about it for a minute, you realize it could have been much cooler looking. Scale time. Batman in the HELLBAT suit stands about 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters tall to the top of his head there. The wings look like they have a span of about 13 inches or 33 centimeters. As always, here he is next to my 6-inch Batman and Spider-Man. But of course, McFarlane's stuff is in the 7-inch scale, so here he is next to a McFarlane Superman, and they scale up pretty nicely. So do I ultimately recommend Batman in the HELLBAT suit from McFarlane friends? Well, heck yeah, I think so. I mean, sculpt and the paint aren't anything revolutionary, but they're just executed so cool. They come out looking so cool, I think. Articulation's fine, and yeah, he's pretty light on accessories. Accessories are pretty weak, honestly, because, like, I don't know what to do with those wings. I don't want him to wear them, although I think they could kind of snap off and just fit him in his hand like a weapon like I've got right now. So you could figure something to do with them, I guess, but even if you just put them aside, like you did with that collector card and that useless base, it's still a really cool figure. So I say go out and get him while you can. So until next time, peace out, YouTube.